have said some stuff they regret when this countdown starts for you to give that disclaimer.
I'll say stuff.
Usually it's me.
Yep.
Oh, man.
And most of the time, I think if we went back, we do somewhere between 40 and 50 shows a year. And so once a week, and then, of course, like Christmas and New Year's and all happening on Fridays, throw the schedule off a bit of hitting the full 55, but or hitting the full year. But usually because it's Friday and certain guests we have, we end up talking about alcohol a lot in this first 3 minutes.
The funniest thing about that is I've been in recovery for 33 years, so we probably won't talk about alcohol a lot with me.
No, sir.
Nope.
I don't even think they had most of the alcohol that's out there today 33 years ago.
Yeah, too many options today.
Yeah, it was a lot simpler back then.
The good old days when a drunk could be a drunk.
Right? We go way back in American history. It was like just whiskey.
Yep, that was it. All you needed.
Yeah. Well, congrats, David. My little brother, it's the same. He should be here Sunday. He's going to spend Christmas with us, and Monday we get to go celebrate his anniversary.
All right.
So, yeah.
That's great. Congratulations.
I'll pass word on to him. I think he is super positive, and I think your cause would be, you would register hugely with him. He's in the music business. So.
My family is as well. Connect us at sometime. That'd be great.
Will do. I'll let him know there's a place on Facebook for him to go and make that happen.
That's it. I'm in. I'm ready.
Is he in a band, Alex? Is he a promoter?
No, he's a manager.
Oh, he's a manager. Okay, cool.
Yep. He's got a few, but his big one right now is Will Black. So mostly EDM, and Will just did. I think he had a few songs in the last Fortnite season and stuff like that. So he's starting to get his break.
I thought you just were giving a really weird timeline of when his last song came out.
No. All right, 5 seconds till showtime.
That's how Alex times everything.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hey.
Hey, guys.
Happy month.
It's like Hollywood Squares when we have this many people on there. But this is a pretty special one. This is the last Refresh Friday of 2021. And if there wasn't a year, maybe 2020, that could use a final positive kickoff.
I don't know. We still got 2022 to look forward to.
2022 is looking better, man. Already.
I'll take your word for it.
But yeah, we have David Long with us. He's the founder of the Pandemic of Positivity. If you haven't seen that on social media, whether it be Clubhouse, LinkedIn, Facebook, that pandemic is hitting hard, and that's a good kind.
Yes, it is.
David, as we go around the Hollywood Squares here, you mind kicking us off with a little background on who you are?
No, I don't mind at all. So as you had mentioned, well, it's good to be with you guys. Thanks for inviting me. As we get kicked off here, the pandemic of positivity, to what you just mentioned, was something that we created 9 months ago. And in the midst of things being less than positive and a big spin on pandemic and negativity and all the things that have been associated with pandemic, we thought, hey, I know, let's shift the paradigm around the word pandemic and let's make it positive. Let's try to focus on things that are going right and not everything that's going wrong. And there's a whole backstory to that maybe we'll get into later. But this is my 33rd year in the auto vertical. I'm the father of 3. the husband of one. This kind of sound like Glenn Lundy, and a grandfather. We just had actually 9 months ago, we had a grandson, and his name's Jackson Alexander, and he is beautiful, and he'll be here from Florida to celebrate his first Christmas. So that's
Awesome.
about me.
Congrats, man. That's great.
Big time.
Thank you.
Congrats. Thank you, David. And then we've got the man of ugly sweater kingdoms. He's not disappointing this time. Last time we had you on, you
No.
didn't wear the sweater.
You gave me a lot of grief for not wearing a sweater. So, and I had a plain one on as we were getting started, and Alex was like, "What are you doing? You got to throw something on." So, this is my team at work. We call ourselves Team Miller Time. So, tis Miller time. Got the Miller
but
Lite Christmas sweater going.
That's not an ugly sweater. That one just makes me thirsty.
Yeah, I mean we're almost there. It's Friday.
And Brian, can you tell the audience what you do other than
Sure, so-
wear ugly sweaters?
Other than that, what do you do the 52 the other 52 weeks of the year? So I head up a lot of our OEM relationships at Cars.com. So oversee the partnerships with the Detroit and East Coast based OEMs, and work with all their media agencies. And so we're responsible for a lot of the media and advertising display that you either see on Cars.com or maybe that you're targeted with after you've shopped on our site and you go elsewhere.
Well, we're glad to host you a second time, Brian.
I'm glad I'm wearing the proper attire this time.
Well, I think we owe Jake a gold blazer at this point. Are you on your? I know you're hitting veteran status now.
I don't know if I'm like SNL 5-timers yet, but this might be like 4, so I think I'm getting close. Yeah, I'm if I can be rocking the GoldBlazer next time it's on, it's great. Today, I usually rock the car shirt. I'm in honor of David here. I'm doing the change the game every time I hear this man talk.
Nice.
Talking about change is our fuel, man. Change is our caffeine. So switched the wardrobe up like B Miller a little bit today, but yeah, no, it's good to be back with you guys.
Always good to have you. So, you guys were talking before we got on about this morning's show. And I'm guessing that's something on Clubhouse, right?
It is right now. It's limited to Clubhouse, but rumor has it that it might find new territories. So that's to be announced in 2022. We're excited about that.
Oh, anything you can share on that front?
We may have to get some lessons from you guys with the audio visual. As the guests that David is having join us continue to just grow in their stature and the content that they're sharing, audio is awesome. I mean, it's so easy for people to join, and the group has grown so fast. David's done such an awesome job. But like Steve Greenfield on today, there's visuals that he could share with everyone that I think would make it even better. Jason Rice is on a lot of times where he's got such great data that we speak to. But yeah, I think we may be looking to expand here in the new year, so we're excited about that.
That's
Well,
awesome.
we're happy to help.
Change the name. We're not quite sure, but it might expand past the used car horizon. So it's called All Things Used Cars. Today was the 32nd episode. And I think there were about 275 people cycled through today, which is not all bad. I started it with B, Miller, and 4 or 5 other guys. And again, it was just to get smarter people in a room and learn. And that's just caught on. So it's going really well.
And you heard some of the big names that passed through, but like what's amazing is just all the dealers who come on and just open up about their strategies, their challenges. There was a great conversation. This morning's conversation was amazing, but there was a great conversation last week about buy centers and everybody just talking about if they had tried out buy center operations this year, what had gone well, what hadn't. You just hear these folks that sometimes in other forums regard it. It's like, oh no, my competitor's in the room. I'm not going to talk about this. It's just everybody opening up, talking about strategies and trying to make each other better. It's always such a fascinating conversation to kick off Friday mornings.
You remind me of.
Let me just tell you one quick thing that Jacob just made me think of. It was about episode 4 or 5. We were talking about buy centers, and someone on the show said, "Hey, how did you do it?" So I sent them my manual. They're buying 100 cars a month. It didn't cost them anything. They They joined the show. I sent them my manual. They're buying 100 cars a month. There's another group in Ohio, Michigan, and Florida that will generate $10 million worth of company gross from opening a buy center 2 years ago from that manual. So it's just about sharing ideas, right? And giving. They didn't charge those guys anything. So it's super cool.
That manual sounds like it's worth something. Maybe you shouldn't be giving it away.
Well, I was thinking about charging next time. Yeah, good idea.
No, but you're so right. I just, it was 2 or 3 weeks ago, I was in Vegas for a conference. You invest a lot of time and money to attend these conferences, and they're fantastic. But some of the guest presenters that have come on are also the keynotes at those conferences, and they're sharing excellent information. And that, with Clubhouse, as long as somebody has the floor, they can chime in with a comment or a question, or, hey, this is how we did this, or we're thinking about going this route. To David's point, what would you recommend? And there have been so many just offline connections that happen that all start with that call on Friday morning. So it's been a lot of fun. I don't know, none of us expected to grow to this. I had my own, selfish reasons for reaching out to David. David had his own reasons for reaching out to other folks, and then now we've got a group of us that get together on Fridays, and it keeps growing because the content it's legit.
Sounds familiar.
You reminded me of something when you were mentioning dealers' concern for their competitors hearing their secrets. When Jeff and I first connected 15 years ago on DealerRefresh, my boss at the time, I was working in car dealership, and he was concerned of same reasons. We were sharing too much or whatever. And come to find, over 15 years of DealerRefresh, that maybe 3% might take it and try to do something with it. So,
and you'll grow 50 to 100% listening to the other 3% share their stuff. I mean, it's so funny to hear like David and B. Miller just say like, oh, it's selfish reasons. It's usually the people saying it like that are actually putting so much good out there. And then it's just naturally coming back in so many ways. So that's the thing. You're dead on, Alex. Like, yeah, maybe if 100% of people started doing this, and that might be good too, because we start raising the bar for everybody. But the reality is you get folks on there, people listen, about 5% actually make those leaps, put those changes in place, and then they become a voice that helps you be like, oh, that's what you experienced, and you found this new thing. It just opens up that sharing in ways that are really positive for folks that are just running with it.
Yeah, without a doubt. You give something, people do give back.
Exactly.
Yep, for sure.
You guys have been putting good advice out in the industry for years now. You know that more than anybody.
Well, we like some help, so come on.
Mm-hmm.
And we're happy to help you guys out, Brian and David, in any way you need. So if it's technical or anything like that, we'll pass. We'll pass what we've learned.
Sounds good. We'll take you up on that.
All right, cool. So there's a couple of things that have been going on too with cars. So recently had Refuel.
Yeah.
And I haven't watched it yet. I'm glad to hear it's up for everybody on YouTube, and I will definitely be checking that out. Anything that really jumped out for you guys?
I caught the first 3 sessions live, and I missed Jocko, so I need to go back and watch the recording.
Yeah, Jocko was incredible.
He was the last one, right?
Yeah, he was. We led off with Tony Hawk last year, and this year we did more of the classic. Like, all right, here's the closing number. But I will tell you guys, Amy Purdy was the one who really surprised me. Her story was incredible, and like for those who don't know, she's a Paralympian. She lost her legs, and she is actually at a point in her life again where she's struggling with some infections from her prosthetics that have limited her ability to walk. But she is a Paralympic medalist. She came in second place on Dancing with the Stars, and just we talk about the attitude of like what we're doing, sharing good ideas. Her whole attitude and ethos of just, I think I'm trying to think of the exact way she phrased it, but your challenges create opportunities, and then those opportunities breed more challenges. And that is just kind of this whole cyclical nature of how you grow, how you get better and better. And just to see someone whose legs were taken from them take that attitude is incredible. And I'll just say, for those who on the call who aren't aware of Refuel, just a quick step back. Refuel is a conference that Joe Chur actually started 5 or 6 years ago. And it started just as an employee event. He'd bring in these folks that had really inspired him, given him some of his personal philosophies on leading a business, on inspiring people, on being a people leader, and just open it up for everybody. And then eventually became Naperville community piece. Then we started flying some clients in, like David, to go. And last year with the pandemic, talk about certain challenges and opportunities. We're like, screw it, let's just put it online. Let's put it out there for everybody. And yeah, this year's show, if you go to Dealer Inspire and click on the Refuel box, or you go to the Dealer Inspire YouTube page, it's up there live it's up there recorded for everybody to see. And some really great stuff. Really great speakers this year.
Yeah, I'll say that some of there's always someone that is a keynote or a presenter at Refuel that really catches you off guard. You mentioned Amy. I thought she was fantastic. Cal Fossman, who is just somebody who can bring a story to life. He talked about meeting his childhood dream, childhood hero, Muhammad Ali, and his fear of meeting him, because sometimes your heroes, they don't live up to the expectations, and how he actually went above and beyond for him, and just found this incredible way of his theme was curiosity, always be curious, and how that's just taken him to every stage in his life. I think, and it's just stuff that people can apply literally the moment they walk out of that conference. I think that's usually Joe's biggest goal is, how do you recharge yourself? How do you refuel yourself? And it's by giving you these tidbits to implement in your life immediately. So that was something that really stood out for me with Cal, was like, always be curious. And of course, when Jocko's on, you feel the man's energy in person, and it probably translates online too, of just his tenacity and what he talks about, extreme ownership and owning every element of your team. And it can apply whether you're in a military setting or in the corporate setting or at home. I found him to be phenomenal. So everybody really lived up to the expectations. And I was fortunate enough to do a workout in the morning. Angela Davis, who's she's made a big name for herself. She's sort of a trainer to some celebrities. And I thought, it's a corporate event. Maybe she'll take it easy on us. Not at all. Not at all. I was dripping sweat. I was looking for my water bottle. Even peeked out to go grab like a Nature Valley bar halfway through. So they did not take it easy on us, and that is still with me to today. So it was an excellent conference.
Did you hit the mats with Jocko?
I did not. No way was I signing up for that.
He wouldn't be here today. Come on.
Yeah, it sounds like a good time. Refuel is such a great thing.
Yeah,
and I think there's this like period between the holidays. I think everybody feels it, right? There's kind of this that like, it's kind of the winter slog. You're just trying to get through, and it's really just a great time to kind of watch the stories, to get pumped up. And it's not to go knock out tomorrow. It's like, now's the time to be thinking ahead to 2022. Like, what are you going to do? How are you going to change the game? What are you going to do differently? How are you going to grow? And sometimes you just want to get to the holidays and just kind of like lay down for a week straight. You're like, I'm exhausted. But this is always such a well-timed thing to kind of put that inspiration in your head, really, really get you motivated and ready and excited for the year ahead.
Well, in our industry too, we've got so many conferences that are just, focused on the automotive side of everything. So it's cool to have something that's, it's not really automotive related, but I guess.
Yeah, you won't hear the words CPM. You won't hear anything about turn rates or, if you want to, this might not be exactly about specifics on how to sell cars. In fact, you won't hear anything about marketing outside of these folks' personal, just beliefs on marketing in general. But there's a lot of other great conferences that do that throughout the year. This is a little different twist on just getting people refueled and pumped.
Very awesome.
We do have some or a forum that's dedicated to Refuel by Churro on DealerRefresh. So if you ever want something positive over there, that's the place to go.
Yeah.
Maybe we need to co-brand it Refuel Pandemic of Positivity. So
yeah,
there you go.
Man.
So David, you're also a car dealer. So when you're speaking to people on all things used cars, you're definitely speaking from a point of authority.
Well, again, I started it so I could learn, right? Because I think things are changing so quickly. What I knew and was really good at yesterday and the day before might not be relevant or as relevant today. I mean, of course, all the blocking and tackling and fundamentals of what we do may never change, but there are so many nuances that I've learned over the last 32 weeks that I would have never known had that not started. So I do. I love the used car space. I would say that that's probably my strongest area. And I'll tell you just a quick little story. So about 8 years ago, I went to a dealer here in Northern California just to meet him because he was one of the brightest, kindest dealers that you could ever meet. His name's Sean Belgrand. And he said, as the meeting was ending, he said, "Hey, why don't you be my used car director?" And I said, "Oh, that'd be a great idea. I'd love to work together. You're such a nice, smart, forward-thinking owner. It'd be great. The only problem is I don't know anything." I almost said a bad word. "I don't know anything about used cars." And he's like, "That's all right. We'll figure it out together." And that dealer group, which happens to be one of the bigger ones in Northern California, if not the biggest privately owned, we went from selling 500 used cars a month with 600 or 700 in stock to 1,100 used cars a month with 800 in stock, which was fantastic. So I hooked my wagon, like I always do, to what I perceive to be the best used car operators in the country: Jason Rice, Tommy Gibbs, and then my go-to every single week was Dale Pollock. And he coached me up and helped me figure out used cars. Now it happens to be one of my favorite sections of our industry, which happened to spin off into opening a buy center. And that buy center went from opening one to helping open 57 from here to Brazil. And it's just been super fun. It's like being in a brand new business 30 years into it, right? So that's what got my juices flowing and pumped to get, just reinvigorated in our space. So that's really what's happened in the last 8 years for me.
So you say you have 30 buy centers. Are those all under the Hansel Auto Group?
No, I have personally helped to open 57,
Gotcha.
57 of them from here to Brazil, and it's been a lot of fun. So I am the executive general manager of Hansel. I have the Pandemic of Positivity, which is a great way for us to pour positivity in the world. We have a great board, a lot of people, which and then we have the Friday morning all things used cars, and then I coach youth sports, and in my spare time, I have a training consulting business.
What spare time?
And somewhere there's 3 kids in there,
3 kids
and a grandchild.
So the good news is sleep is overrated, but I have a whole life before most people even wake up in the morning. That's one of the reasons I love living out here and having opportunities to help people out of the country. So you don't have to sleep.
I've had some friends ask, they're like, "Do people really join at 6 a.m.? I go, not only is this guy up at 6 a.m., he's up at like 4 doing a workout because he'll text us with what we're going to be talking about or send us some link to something. Yeah, it's David doesn't stop.
It's a lot of fun. You guys keep me motivated.
You figure out how to bottle up some of that energy.
I think it's just if you're going to bottle it up, it's all about what you put in your body. Right? I have a nutritionist that helps me dial in, and I work, like to Brian's point, I try to work out every day. I just had my second new hip put in, which should tell you that I probably should slow down, but I don't think that's going to happen. Hopefully we'll be dunking again here in a couple more months, but we're having fun. It's all we're doing here in Northern California is having fun.
And how was the last 2 years for you in the used car market in Northern California?
So that in Northern California, I don't know if you know anything about Sonoma County, but we've been through a lot.
Nothing but wine.
Well, there's a lot of wine here, that's for sure. But we went through 2 massive wildfires. Yeah, I know that you've seen them on the news. But my family and I were in the car where we were surrounded by flames and they were jumping over the car. You could feel the heat coming in. People lost homes and lives. So that was a super, super tough time. This is not a poor me story, but during that time, we had a cyber attack that closed us down. We had to pay a ransom and hire a negotiator. That same year, just 2 years ago, I had five deaths in my immediate family. So and then we had the chip shortage, and on top of that, we had the pandemic. So that's where the pandemic positivity came from, right? It would have been really easy for me to focus on all the things that were broken or not going right or the deaths. But with friends like Brian and Jacob and Alex texted me this morning, Vetter, and said, hey, knock them dead this morning. These guys are great. You're going to have a lot of fun. Without guys like Alex and Joe Chura and Jason Rice and my friends that I surround myself with, it would have been really easy for me to focus on things not being good. My friends wouldn't let that happen. And these last 2 years have been really good on the new car side. They've been really, really good on the used car side. And, of course, like most dealers, we're about to close out a record year. So it's been good. I have zero complaints.
It takes somebody like you to do the pandemic of positivity for sure.
So what exactly is what is the pandemic of positivity? Like how are you getting the message out? What inspired all this? Other than all your friends and everyone coming together and knowing that you need to focus on everything positive when everything, too many things in your life are negative.
So I had an epiphany. I don't know. It was the middle of the night. I woke up and it was, pandemic related, and people are dying. The news. Every time I turned on the news or listened to the radio, something terrible, horrific was happening, and I thought, somehow, some way, I need to get a bunch of like-minded people to start a movement. I called it a movement, and we got bracelets and all kind of hats and all kinds of gear. It just needed a movement that could remind people that not everything's broken, not everything's bad, and we get what we focus on, and where our attention goes, our energy flows, right? So how can we be unapologetically kind? How can we remind people to stay compassionate, to stay thoughtful? And it'd be really easy to be self-consumed. And the way this all came up, by the way, is one of my parenting styles. And this is big. This is, for me, this was everything and the reason why the pandemic positivity came up. So our three kids, every morning when they were going to school, what we'd ask them to focus on is somebody in their class or in their school they could tell either was uncomfortable, unsettled, unhappy, right? Like to go out of their way and really focus and lean into finding somebody that they knew needed something, right? Some kindness. And I thought, well, if they go to school thinking that, they're not going to be worried about if they have their Gucci's on, if they have the right Jordache jeans. Remember those from our
Jordache.
It might be cool again.
They have the
right.
shoes on, right? They're going to be focused outside of themselves versus focused internally, and that's where the pandemic of positivity was actually birthed. Was rather than worrying about the 5 deaths that I had, or the cyber attack, or the fires, or the let me go outside of and let me find a group of like-minded people that would have the same heart. And that's how I was inspired. And we have Liza Borges. I don't know if you know her from CMA. She's on the board. We have a lot of people that you guys would know if I mentioned their names on the board, just pouring positivity into not just their dealer group, but into their communities. And it's a heavy lift, but I think it's worth it because I have not one time poured into somebody and left that interaction feeling worse, not better. So I think it's what we need to do.
Yeah, I mean, the board is a mix of dealership leaders, folks on the media side, folks on the software side, and I think what's been great about it is the past 2 years have been stressful for everybody, and it can be easy just to go down that funnel of negativity and stress, and we've all had a tough time. We've all been faced with a lot of challenges that have made everything in life working in this industry a lot harder. But when you lead with that attitude of positivity, it's not just for yourself, it's for everyone around you. It's for your network. It's for the folks that you work with every day. Talk about David's energy. Like, David's energy is infectious. When you have that positivity, when that's what the conversations in Clubhouse are looking like, it gives everybody that extra motivation, that extra step. And even with everything going on, it's how you bring the fun back to the work you do. Even if it is, burn the candle at both ends, it's what keeps you energized and does that. So it's a philosophy and an approach that I think has had a really wide impact. And I see it kind of sprouting everywhere in the conversations we're having. And, I would expect 2 years into this, a lot more people just to be like, I'm done. I'm throwing in the towel. I'm sick of this. And it's like 2 years in, I'm having more conversations about what the future holds, more people bringing innovative ideas to the front. It's amazing just to see that energy and that resilience shining through. So I think a lot of that goes back to what they've established here.
God, we need it.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
We really do.
Just turn the news off. That's half the battle.
Right. I asked my team, I said, how do you know when somebody needs kindness or positivity? You guys know?
They always do.
They're breathing. Right?
There you go.
If they're breathing, because you never know what fight somebody's fighting. Somebody standing right next to you could be fighting a heck of a fight. My brother took his life. And quite frankly, I didn't know. Right? I didn't see it coming. So when I think about the person standing next to me might be in that space of losing hope, that's the least I can do is know that everybody's fighting their best fight and doing the best they can. So I think we can make a significant impact on the people that might be suffering, especially the ones that you don't know are suffering. So that's where it came from. That kind of ties it all together now.
Mm-hmm.
God, you've stumped me a few times here, David. Like, there's some serious bombs you've been through. I feel for you, and I hope that you're not going to drop any more bombs on us in this show like that.
Oh, I've been holding off for the big one. Wait till I get to the end. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, wow. Well, can we switch back to used cars?
Let's do it.
Yeah, I'd love to. That's my favorite topic.
Yeah. Where's the positivity in used cars right now?
The profits.
Right. So I have this wheel.
Acquiring them and selling them, right?
What's that?
I said acquiring them and selling them.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But where do you acquire them and how? Right? There's Jason and Brian and Diego and Tommy and Vasilios and the folks on our All Things Used Cars. They've helped open my mind to all the different channels of acquisition. And I think some dealers are really good in one or two of the channels. But imagine if you knew all 7 channels and you could get efficient in each and every one of those sections. How much more effective and efficient could you be? I think it's going to be really important that everybody, 1, knows what they are, 2, knows how to mind them, and 3, knows how to merchandise and turn their inventory, and this is not a plug for cars.com, but they are the only partner that I have in this space. I don't know if you guys even knew that. I didn't know if you knew that, but
I didn't know we were flying solo at this point, but that's great to hear.
Yeah, you're the only one. So you guys are a great partner in a lot of respects. I mean, you're not a vendor; you're a partner that I cherish and that I value, and I'm grateful for. So, what do you want to know about used cars? Let's talk about it.
And just a reminder, Jacob, this is recorded, so you're good.
Step that little bit out. Boom.
Well, with your Clubhouse group, the forum there, what are some of the top things that have come out of that in the past couple of weeks?
So we've had Jonathan Smoke on. We've had just understanding where we are, what could be coming, how to prepare, what to consider. We've had Brian Benstock come on and shake it up a couple times. He's been good. There's just been a number of people have just come in and poured in. Let me ask, Brian, what is one of the things that you've gotten out of the last 32 weeks that just stuck with you?
A lot. I mean, we were texting about this when we hung up this morning. It's a 60-minute meeting, if you will, or call every Friday, and that can easily go on for hours. Today was a great example of we could have kept talking with Steve Greenfield about the future of automotive and just all of the different aspects that go into it. And what we usually do, David will wrap up the call and just say, that's a great topic for us to continue, and it just keeps rolling. The conversation just keeps rolling every Friday. I thought Jonathan Smoke was awesome. So to have some big names that are analysts that are really looking at the industry from just that level up to give some guidance on what we should expect or what's coming. Love when like Ben Stock will chime in and say, here's a contrarian point of view, or here's what I'm thinking about, and it gets everybody out of their comfort zone. But if I had to pick one thing from the 32 episodes, it's just that there are dealers being challenged to change their business and not just continue to go with their standard operating procedure. So it's a huge benefit. If you talk to David Long, you talk to Brian Kramer, who's running a fantastic operation, they're openly sharing. I mean, Kramer has said exactly what he says to people. His phrase, or what he has folks in the service bay how they talk to customers. They're sharing exactly what they're doing to run fantastic operations, and it costs you nothing but an hour of your time every Friday. So I think the one thing for me is just the commitment of change that people are getting out of it, and seeing that, hey, this there might be a better way of running our operations. So that's been my biggest learning piece from it.
So
I don't even know how I forgot. Go ahead. What's that?
I was going to say the one that it's probably recency bias, but I thought last week's discussion on seven-figure why am I blanking? Buy centers was incredible. So that's one where the details kind of stand out to me, because David brought on several dealers who have literally gone from not having any buy center operations to running seven-figure buy center operations over the past year, and just hearing a couple of the similarities between those business models and what is really working for those folks. I'm going to name a couple of them. One, I think a lot of folks have looked at whoever was going to auction saying, okay, I'm going to set you over here with a specialized team. This is what you are going to focus on. And I think a lot of folks have tried that. And really, it has to be, if you're going to do a buy center, even if you brand it separately, set up a separate website, the whole dealership operation has to be trained and understand what's going on over there. And it has to be an all-in. Everybody's mentality has to be there. When a customer walks in the door, first question you ask them is, you buying or selling today? Like, it has to go that deep for those operations to grow and scale, because too often when people open those, they open them as a secondary objective, and they're angling every conversation to still get back to the retail sale. So only acquisition in the interest of the retail sale. And that's understandable. That's the golden goose everybody's going after. But to really do it, you have to lead with just the pure intent of, if that person came in to sell, just focus solely on that. And don't just have the folks who are running the buy center and being gold off the buy center ready to do that. You have to have principal and GM pushing that top down. And once you get in there, there's going to be some who just sell, they walk out, and that's that on that vehicle. But you'll be amazed at how much just adopting that philosophy actually gets you to more of those deals where it does end up just being a trade they apply to the next vehicle, where it does get them to come back several days later and buy. So as someone who's actually been out there in the space, B. Miller and I, you go back to like 2010, 2011, him and I were on the road testing early solutions for vehicle acquisition and talking with folks who, were going to the auctions and thinking of this as a specialized way. At least I was back then. It's funny a decade later to see that whole thing reversed, in my mind at least, by people who built these things in less than a year. It's incredible to see, and I think that was one, to me, again, some recency bias because they've all been great topics, but a week ago, that was one where I thought, man, there's some real actionable stuff dealers can take out of this and apply like tomorrow if they really want to start getting in on this space, which I think is going to be critical again for 2022.
It sounds like you've opened 57 buy centers.
I'm getting really good at doing my parrot of David Long. Just listen, absorb, read out.
So I have to give so I have a coach that I've had for a little over 3 years, John Melashenko. Do you know him? He's the COO of Germain Automotive.
Okay.
So about 2 years ago, John invited me to his leadership retreat. And I thought I was just going to learn from his leaders and from him and hang out with my buddy John. And I got there, and next thing I know, I have a whole deck of things that he wants me to present. And this was a little over 2 years ago. This was right before COVID. And he had me talk about buy centers. And I was like, okay, well, I know a little bit about that. I'll talk about it. Last year, his company generated over $10 million worth of gross out of the buy centers he opened just from the seed that was planted 2 years ago. So it is definitely worth it if you do it right. And I have seen more start and stop than I've seen start and stay because it is so hard. Think about it. In our business, it's over 100 years old. If it were easy, there'd be a buy center in every showroom. There'd be one on every corner. It is a hard and heavy lift. So there are only a select few that have the intestinal fortitude to do what Jacob just said. It is so interesting to me to see who wins and who loses in that space.
What causes most dealerships to fail if it's such a small number? Is it just mindset, or is it something around operations?
Well, they underestimate the amount of effort, energy, and approach that it takes. Again, if it were easy, everybody would be doing it. It is just such a heavy lift, and if you're the Trojan horse that's just trying to sell somebody something, and you don't have a dedicated top-down model like Jacob was just saying, it's not happening. At least I've never seen it happen.
Does it make more sense for a dealership or a group to brand it as something separate, or integrate it into the dealership in the process there, or have it to be standalone? Which one have you seen to be more effective?
I've seen them both really, really successful. So there's a gentleman that joins us every week named Patrick. That is where's he, in El Paso? Right?
Yeah, El Paso. Yeah.
Yeah, and he separated it. The biggest one that I've ever helped open they branded it as their company, and was made $4.4 million in additional company gross the second year they were open. So, I mean, I've seen it work both ways.
Yeah, we had a really healthy discussion about that. And that was only a few weeks ago. And again, you get perspective from different people that have done it successfully. I think, there are some core elements, though, that David talked about around really the focus and commitment to doing this. And then there could be some variables around how are you going to market it. But so there's a few different approaches here, but having some of those consistent core themes around your focus of the operation, that was probably what came through as the most important. Me personally, I think I'm on the side of the branding it as a buying center, but also branding your team internally, that everyone needs to be thinking about every customer that comes in. Are they coming in with a trade, or do we have to part ways just because they're not going to buy a vehicle from us today? Can we acquire theirs? It's just become so critical with inventory shortage that people really strengthen these muscles and train these muscles to do so. So again, the value behind All Things Cars every Friday is that this content is brought to anyone who wants to join at zero cost. And it's not from a guru who claims to be able to do it. This is from people who have done this and done it successfully. So I think that's where so much of the value is on our conversations every Friday.
What valuable tools are out there? Is there any type of software that you find plugs in, or maybe even with like your online marketing around it? Is any advice around that? I'm just thinking, there's a ton of trade-in evaluation tools on dealership websites. Does it make sense to integrate something like that? Plug that into the dealership website, or maybe if you've got a standalone site, any type of software out there that maybe helps streamline that.
There is. So back 8 years ago, when I was standing in an auction, like trying to figure out how to buy a car at the auction, right? Because I was just learning used cars. I looked around and I thought, well, that guy told me he was in last week looking for a job from me, right? He's not even going to be working there by the time the car he buys today shows back up to the dealer he's spending the money for. And I looked and I thought, oh, there's Carvana and there's CarMax, and Jesus, I don't want to be competing against those guys. A guy that doesn't care and two that don't really have experience. Like, how do you win against somebody that's fighting you that doesn't care if they die, right? So that's when I went back to the drawing board and said, I got to scratch out this buy center concept. I hired 2 MBAs from MIT to A/B test every single script in WordTrack, and they spent 1 full year with me trying to figure this thing out. What I did find out is we'd get really busy one day, and then we'd be slow the next because we couldn't fill the funnel, right? We'd be busy transacting, and then the next day we'd be sitting on our refrigerator like the Maytag repairman with nothing to do. So I found this company called VAN. Do you know what that is? It's an acronym for Vehicle Acquisition Network. And that
I do know you're talking about.
And that was really what shifted everything. So the funnel would be filled constantly through this tool that you were just asking about, Jeff. It would continue to perpetuate opportunities for us to do business, and it streamlined everything. We went from buying, I don't know, like 57 cars a month to 257 cars a month. Not all because of VAN, right? We were getting better and more efficient and more streamlined, but VAN definitely was the thing that took us from just being an average buy center to being one of the best in the country. So that is one tool. There's several out there, but that just happens to be one that I feel very strongly about.
And how do you keep it fed? So Jeff was hitting on trade-in forms and things like that, and maybe from a marketing perspective.
Yeah, do you have to tackle it at different levels? I remember when I first got into the car business, that we still had a gentleman that would open up the phone book, and he would just find a phone number, call him, introduce himself, and find out if they had a car to sell.
Yeah,
old school.
It's funny because it's not much different than that. So there were 3 separate channels at any given time. The one channel was VAN, which would automatically fill the funnel. The next funnel is we would separate brands. So we'd do a draft at the beginning of the month, just like an NFL draft. You'd reach in, you'd go, I get General Motors. So you get to work all the General Motors cars. Oh, I get Ford. You get to work all the Ford cars. So each buyer would have a particular brand that they would work on top of VAN. And then we had also KBB ICO. And those 3 resources feathered together turned out to be the trifecta, if you will, of filling the funnel and buying cars.
So VAN is like a lead source then. I wasn't getting that when you were talking about it earlier.
Let me explain how it works. So if you advertised your car in almost any marketplace today, if it was set up, VAN, if there was a dealer in that marketplace that owned VAN, you would get a text message. And the text message would just say, I want to make an offer on your car. You don't have to come in. We never ask somebody to come in. Hey, come on in. We can't tell you what your car is worth over the phone. In 3 minutes, you would know what your car was worth by talking to one of my buy centers.
Gotcha.
And that was it.
I get those text messages all the time from my house.
About selling your house?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, unsolicited.
So you have so much equity in it. That's why. They know that you probably have a zero balance on it, and you're worth an awful lot of money, and they think, I know.
Yeah.
Jeff might want to sell his house.
Spot on.
That's not too different from some of the equity mining, capabilities of CRMs that are out there, certainly. But acquiring more and more vehicles is just such a critical piece, and it's not going away. So that's something that we're focused on to help our network of dealers. And again, we think there's 2 sides here, right? There's the consumer benefit of having, when you have more dealers competing to acquire your vehicle, you're going to get better offers on it. And when you have a tool that more dealers can access inventory, they're going to see more value in that. So again, it's a 2-sided marketplace of being able to solve for dealers and allowing everyone to compete, whether it's a small dealer, largest automotive group in the country. We want to be able to make a platform that everyone can compete on. And in this case, if it's for acquiring cars or for selling cars, whatever your goal is, we want to make sure we've got a good platform to do so.
And I think when you talk about median solutions that enable that, there's really 2 key things. one, and you hear this a lot on forums and when David talks, is you need something that puts your dealership in a position to be able to give the appraisal, the offer, without requiring the person to come in the phone in the store, right? You have to get some level of trust in whether it's technology or it's a guy who's been appraising cars for 30 years and how you collect that information. You have to enable the ability to put that offer out without requiring an in-store visit, mostly because the consumer expectation is way up. They can go to Carvana, they can go to CarMax, they can go 5 different places in an hour, have 5 offers on their car. So you have to.
And I would say that's probably where most dealerships struggle. They're still locked into that old school way. You know, even where I work, you know, it ends up being a struggle because they've still got in their head that they've got to see and touch that car. You know, we'll give you a roundabout. We'll give you, you know, a roundabout value. But if you want, you know, an accurate trade-in evaluation on the vehicle, I have to have my professional walk around the vehicle, touch it and drive it, you know. And I've always been like, well, why do you need to do that? You know, just give them an exact number. And I'm assuming that that's probably your philosophy as well. Go ahead and give them an exact number. I mean, if the car happens to not be what they said it was, well, then you can renegotiate, you know.
Exactly.
Do you ask when you're doing it like that, do you ask for photos?
No.
Okay.
Less is more. In my world, it's just year, make, model, miles, and is there anything else I should know about your car? And then the market indicates your vehicle's worth, and that's it. And when the car shows up, if it's been hit more times than Joe Louis, it's a whole new conversation.
I understand.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Alex.
I was going to tell a story to add to what David's saying here. In August of 2020, after the things had cleared up in Jersey a little bit, went down with Jennifer Suzuki to Prestige Volvo, where Matthew Haken is, and he actually did a deal in front of us, and over the phone, or actually he was doing it through chat with the customer, and Jennifer, who is like get him on the phone consultant, is Matt's just sort of blowing her mind a bit as he's doing it all through chat, and she says, the customer says, you know, what's my car worth? And he puts a number on it, like just with basically down to the trim. That's all he had. Didn't have a VIN. I think he got miles. And then and Jennifer said, what if that engine isn't in the car? It falls out. And Matt just looks at her and says, well, she's going to have some bad karma. That's the world we live in now, right?
And I'm not, the law of reciprocity doesn't work on my financial statement, right? So the karma thing doesn't work for me. So if I ask you or somebody asks you, is there anything else I should know about your car? And you don't disclose that the engine fell out, you know, then we have to have that difficult conversation when you come in. And the same thing is inside of Dale's book, as I see it, he talks about how easy and how quick and transparent it could be if you just have a logical, rational conversation. Now, is everybody going to be rational? No. Is everybody going to tell you the truth? Absolutely not. But the truth will always reveal itself, and you have to have the ability to have the conversation. And it's that simple.
Well, funny thing is, Matthew, to this day, and for some reason, there are a lot of honest people in New Jersey, apparently, because he hasn't been burned yet. So.
And I think, you know, some of the fears I see when I talk to dealers about this, and, you know, you bring up the example of like what Carvana and CarMax do, the objection that I think a lot of people lock in their mind is, well, they're at scale, right? I don't have the scale they have. I can't afford the margin of error they have. And that's because they often think of this as like maybe one provider bringing in 20 leads a month. But it connects back to what I was saying earlier, which is if you do what David's outlined in kind of his playbook and you make this an ethos of the dealership, if you open up every person coming in the door as a sell opportunity, you create that scale for yourself. Just to toss a number out there, 52% of the people on cars.com are going to divest from their vehicle, right? And a lot of people don't even ever have that conversation. There's a lot of places across media you can reach folks, and it's whether or not you're opening yourself up to that conversation, or if you're letting billions in brand media from Carvana drive them there to sell, and you just get the other end of it. You have to create your own scale, I believe, by opening your whole store up. Going back to the don't pocket this in a corner, don't have a 5-person team on it. You create your scale by making your whole team be in on this.
You can't say things like, "Oh, that's what they do in the internet department."
Right, exactly.
Welcome to the showroom.
It's been a while since I've been on the road, but the scariest thing in any dealership for me was going in and seeing the salespeople's names on the whiteboard and then internet department as its own like sales. I was like, oh my God, the salespeople are competing with the internet. How are they going to do that?
God, are there still dealerships doing that?
3 years ago there were, yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I don't know since the pandemic, but
yeah,
definitely was happening locally here.
Wow.
Well, I think it flows with consumer expectations too, right? I mean, consumers, they have expectations that things are personalized and they're in real time. And so if you're not personalized and in real time with consumers these days, they're moving on. There are other options, and it's very easy to find the other option. So that all of those forces, I think, are pushing. And there's been a lot written about the pandemic really speeding up and accelerating sort of this move into digital and digitalizing a lot of industries, not just automotive. But this has certainly been a big shift that we've seen of that doubling down of investment with digital and the tools and the teams to do it the right way, because consumers' expectations are only going to get sharper with what they want every experience to be like. So we've got to be personalized and we've got to be on point very quickly.
And the advantage for local dealers is they can always be more personalized than large disruptor brands. They can always have names and faces and people in the community. Like that fact that consumers want that is the advantage when you adopt these things that local dealers can take a hold of.
But they also have a service
department.
department.
They know who they're working with, right?
I just hope that the lessons learned from this one last a bit longer than the lessons learned from the last one, because after the recession, 08, 09,
Cash for clunkers.
We were quick to get right back to the old ways of doing business not long after that was over. So
I think most dealerships do. They really do. They just, you would think they would learn and they would just, stick to the new processes, but for whatever reason, they gravitate back towards just the old way of doing business.
I can see, and to your point, Jacob, about Carvana and Vrooms and whatnot, those would definitely disrupt and force the changes that we've seen since COVID struck.
I think they could have quietly built an even larger advantage if none of this stuff had happened. And I think if you're going to look for some positivity and a silver lining, it's that we've now got local dealer operators like, the 57 stores David's consulted building these. And maybe the genesis was this, but none of this had happened. You would have looked up 5 years later and this market was cornered. I think this is such a cool opportunistic time for dealers to build out these operations and do it. So I think that is something that I hope, to you guys' point, really comes out of this and sticks. We're going to get a benefit out of this. Like, that's a huge one to me.
Well, a lot of dealers have the money to do it right now. So
yeah,
that's the other thing.
I know
those
we're running
PPP
to the end
loans.
of time, but I have one question. Have you guys read the book Who Moved My Cheese?
Oh, many years ago.
Yep.
Yeah, a long time ago, yeah.
So I find our industry right now to be incredibly similar to Who Moved My Cheese, right? And the cheese station that I look at right now, and Carvana has a $49 billion cap, right? So their market cap's $49 billion. If you add all the other big ones together, they add up to 52. Now, why is Carvana's why are they worth so much? Maybe because the consumer's telling us that's the way they want to do business. That's my final thought. If they're that big and worth that much, I have to think that the consumer sentiment is telling us that we need to not do business like we've always done. Or we're going to wind up sitting in that cheese station with our shoes on, wondering where all the cheese went. That's what I see as our industry starts to change. And something that Steve said this morning is the industry is going to change in a mind-numbing speed in the next 3 to 10 years. more so than it's changed in the last 100. So I would say buckle up and get ready, because change is going to happen whether you want it or not. The cheese is going to evaporate whether you know it or not. And if you're not smelling it often and you're not making the necessary changes, you're probably going to you're going to wind up either with no cheese or no cheese station. And those are some of my final thoughts.
I see you have a mic there, David.
Really good, David has a great quote that he says every time I hear him speak, and it's very relevant right now, where he says that he's seen more money lost during good times than during bad times, because people might get a little lazy or just very complacent with their ways. And I think that speaks to our industry right now.
Well, David, you've got a mic there. Can you pick it up and drop it?
I'm afraid I'll break it. But yeah, I probably could. It was nice spending time with you guys.
Yes.
We really enjoyed it.
No, we really appreciate you coming on. Yeah. And if people want some more information around this pandemic and positivity, and also be able to join the Clubhouse, how would they do about?
So if you're connected with me on any social media platform, you'll see the Pandemic and Positivity, which is pandemicandpositivity.com. I also every week will post who our special guest is for all things used cars, and I also put the link in my all my stories. So hop on in anytime. We'd love to have you, and we would love to have you two guys be our guests some week.
I'll have to get up that early. No, that's about what time I get up.
Well, is it 6 a.m. California time or Eastern time?
Yeah, Jeff, we're good.
I can do that. Yeah.
Well, we wish everyone happy holidays, happy New Year.
Yes, Merry Christmas, happy holidays.
Refresh Friday will be back in January.
Yes, Jacob, David, Brian, thank you so much, man.
Thank you guys.
Always a pleasure, guys. Thanks for having us close out the year with you.
Merry Christmas.
No, we appreciate
Thanks for having me. We'll see you guys again.
Yes.
All right, take care.
Thanks.